Testing. Hi, good morning, Yvette. Good morning in German.
Hi, Brittany. Good morning.
Good morning. How is everyone?
Morning, Brittany. How are you?
Doing okay.
Doing okay. Could be better, but doing okay. Good, same.
How about you?
It's Monday. It's good. I'm good. Thank you. I
I'm not seeing anyone else.
No one else yet, but I'm sure they'll join. I think Cy- Cyrene shared the invitation with your participants, right? Oh.
Yeah, that's what she said. But I
Hmm.
think we're having problems with our email. So I'm not
Okay.
sure. She's just checking.
Okay. Well, we'll see. It's not a holiday in Suriname right today, right?
No.
No.
Okay. Just checking. It is for a lot of the other Caribbean countries. So
Oh,
it's okay. Let me just test my screen. We didn't meet before this call, but uh, in the opening, I will call maybe someone from your team. I don't know, perhaps if it's Yvette or I don't know who from the team, just to give an introduction from the countryside, like some remarks from the
yes.
country before. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a few other people in the room. We have Roshana in the room, in the waiting room. We have Roshana and Faye in the lobby waiting to come in.
Yes, she's just in a call with Shireen. That's what she said. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How many people are we waiting for, more or less?
Hi, Brittany. I'm not sure, but I think it will not be a big group because
Okay.
we have spread the some of the
Im-
stakeholders or experts based
okay.
on the sector.
The section.
So
Okay.
for today, I think we do not exceed 10 persons, if
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. But Shireen can also confirm that. I thought she shared the list with you.
Yes, she did. She did. She did.
Okay.
Um, she did share
Shireen
the
is not
list.
in the call, but she just said we should expect about 5%.
Okay. Well, then we have two people, Roshana and Faye, in the waiting in the lobby, so I can add them now and
Are the German, are those the only two persons for today? I don't think so.
No, those are the two for the EIS, the Energy Authority.
Energy? Okay.
But the other stakeholders are not yet in the call. I'm not
You
sure
mean
why.
for the utility company
Yeah,
or
I'm not sure.
EBS? Yeah, not
Yeah,
EIS.
ABS, yeah.
Okay. What do you think? You think we should let them in and start and have the others come in, or wait a
Um,
little longer?
we could start, but I'm just thinking because we had confirmation from more people, so um, I'm not sure if they are aware of the time.
Okay.
So maybe if Shireen can check with them.
Okay.
So give us 5 minutes and then we can
Sure.
start.
Sure. No problem.
Yeah.
So what then I will do is let them in so that they know that the meeting is that they're in the right place, and I will tell them we'll be starting in 5 minutes. That's okay?
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
that's okay.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. For two colleagues who have just joined, we will be starting in about 5 minutes. Please bear with us. We're just getting a couple things confirmed. Thank you for being here. We'll be starting in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Ja, ik heb het verteld. Maar zo weet het, want het is zo'n collega. Dus het is
Okay. All right, colleagues. Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. Our team from the ministry. All is okay to get started now?
I see that Ethan is not sure if she is in the call or she's in another call. I'm just gonna check on her
Okay, no
and get
problem.
back to you.
Thank you so much. I'll be right here. Okay. Good morning, colleagues. Good afternoon. Sorry, it's afternoon where you are. My name is Brittany Main Rancharan, and I am the Regional Network Coordinator of the Anglophone Caribbean. So that's the English-speaking Caribbean Transparency Network under the CIBIT GSP program, and that is CIBIT GSP is Capacity Building Initiative, global support program. So thank you everyone for being here this afternoon and taking time to join us. Today's workshop is one of a series of 5 sessions on the virtual hands-on training workshop on implementing the 2006 IPCC guidelines and IPCC inventory software for the country of Suriname to enhance the national greenhouse gas emissions estimation capacity. So, considering that Suriname is in the prime time of putting together their national greenhouse gas inventory, myself and my colleagues at the CIBIT GSP program under the UN Environment Program are here to support you all in this endeavor. So before I continue further, I would like to call from my colleagues from the ministry to give an introduction before we start today's session. So
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Do you want me to do it in English or Dutch?
as you wish. I will. I'll try to understand. You go ahead.
Okay. So, ja. Goedemiddag iedereen. Zoals Brittany heeft aangegeven, gaan we voor vandaag starten met de eerste series van workshops, bedoeld om te werken in de IPCC software, ten behoeve van het formuleren van onze eerste BTR. Belangrijk is in deze is het verwerken van de data die wij hebben verzameld tot nu toe, als ook die te plaatsen in de Enhanced Transparency Framework tool. Die is ontwikkeld door de UNFCCC om eigenlijk data met betrekking tot de verschillende sectoren in Suriname, om die informatie te rapporteren. Gezien het gaat om een eerste rapport, wat betekent dat voor de meeste voor alle landen het erom gaat dat we nu pas allemaal ervaring zullen opdoen met het gebruiken van deze tool, maar ook met het indienen van een soortgelijk rapport, is het belangrijk dat we zoveel mogelijk onszelf, maar ook anderen die eventueel data verzamelen en ook verwerken binnen hun eigen bedrijven en instituten en organisaties, dat zij in staat zijn dat te doen middels het gebruik van de bekende IPCC software. Vandaag gaan we ons meer focussen op de energiesector. Dus vandaar dat jullie ook zullen merken dat het meer gaat om mensen die belast zijn met de energiesector en anderen die algemeen moeten zorg dragen voor het verwerken van de data in het greenhouse gas inventory systeem van Suriname. Met dit gezegd hebbende, heet ik jullie allen van harte welkom en ik hoop dat jullie ons tot het eind, dat jullie samen met ons tot het eind deze training of workshop zullen volgen. Yeah, that was it. Brittany, what I just did, I just gave a prompt or a brief overview of the purpose of this workshop or this training, the importance for Suriname, and more also for all the other countries because it will be our first BTR. So which means that within all these countries, especially in Suriname as well, we will need to train our experts and government official in using the IPCC tool, since that will be important setting up the greenhouse gas inventory for all the countries. Or in this case, for Suriname, I also mentioned the use of the ETF tool that has been developed by the UNFCCC, which will make it a little bit more easier to place the data in that tool, which can be reviewed by the UNFCCC because it will be one tool, one kind of tool that every country will use to put that data.
Okay.
So that was it in a nutshell. I also
you.
asked them to bear with us. We know that it's a small group, but we asked them to try to stay until the end of this training with us.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yvette. And I tried to follow as much as I could. I recognize when I recognize the BTR, ETF, and welcome
IPCC, yeah.
and IPCC. Thank you for the
Okay.
so thank you very much. And yeah, I would just like to reiterate and thank you. Bear with us at any point during these virtual sessions. Please feel free to stop me if I am speaking too fast or if there's something that you don't understand from the topics or from what I'm saying. Please let me know. We are a small group, so yeah. So please do feel comfortable. Uh, we are here to support you in this. So at any point, please feel free to stop me. Okay. So Yvette gave a good description of the overview and the outline of the series of sessions that we'll be having. So I mentioned that this is a 5-part session. Today we'll be covering sessions 1 and 2 on the overview of the BTR, of the main concepts of the greenhouse gas inventory, as well as the main overview and main concepts of the IPCC inventory software. And then at the second half of this afternoon session, we'll be looking at the energy sector and going into the IPCC software to see how in practice to apply data, to put in data and discuss with you all the potential data sources or data gaps for Suriname's greenhouse gas inventory. So the workshop objectives for this series in this month will be to equip everyone with a deeper understanding of the IPCC 2006 guidelines for preparing greenhouse gas inventories. And we will be looking at the energy, industrial products and industrial processes and product use sector, and the waste sector. We'll also try to familiarize ourselves with the Biennial Transparency Report, as Yvette mentioned, those requirements under the Paris Agreement, and the Enhanced Transparency Framework, as they're slightly different than all countries have had to report before. And also to guide this team in Suriname in developing a comprehensive national inventory document and offer practical training and tips on how to provide the common reporting tables for reporting. And we'll get into some of those those tools and the requirements. So as Suriname's most recent greenhouse gas inventory was submitted in 2022, that was a part of its third national communication, and that included a national greenhouse gas inventory from the period of 2000 to 2017. And now, with the upcoming submission of Suriname's Biennial Transparency Report, a new greenhouse gas inventory will need to be developed. And so this will take place every 2 years. So from my understanding, the aim is to update the inventory to include data now from 2018 to 2022. So to meet this deadline and to meet these tasks, you are all here to as here as a part of the data collection process, development process, and estimation process to put together these greenhouse gas inventory calculations to get a good understanding of what is happening in country in Suriname. And this is an overview of the agenda for the next 4 weeks. So here we are today with session 1 and 2. So a lot of the overview, and today's session is the longest session because we'll cover most of the basics on the background of what constitutes a greenhouse gas inventory under the Enhanced Transparency Framework, the basics of the IPCC software, and then we'll be focusing on the energy sector. And then in the following weeks, we'll be looking at the waste sector, the industrial sector, and our last session on the 1st of November will be where we all come together to present the compiled inventory or to assess our progress over these weeks in entering data as much as possible, right? And to provide support for each other in reviewing the different chapters for what was compiled. Okay. So we mentioned this already. This is the agenda for today's session. We will have a 15-minute break in the next hour to break between our session before we go into the software and before we introduce the energy sector. And I've introduced myself, but I would also like to hear from all of you to introduce yourselves in this small group. So I will start, and then I will invite my colleagues from the ministry to introduce themselves, and then the rest of our colleagues here that have joined us. So please introduce yourself with your name, the agency that you represent, and your role in this greenhouse gas inventory process. So I will start. My name is Brittany Rancharan, and I am the network coordinator for CIBIT GSP for the Caribbean Network. And my role is to support in capacity as an expert in greenhouse gas inventories to support Suriname in this process. So now to our colleagues from the ministry, please. And if you're able to, you can put on your camera if you like.
Good morning, good afternoon. Yvette Peterson, Deputy PS, Climate Change, responsible for reporting for all the national reports from Suriname, the finalizations of this report, and also the submission of these reports. So actually, I have to be involved in the whole process, also review documents, the reports before submission, and also ensure that stakeholders are also engaged in the process.
Excellent. Thank you, Yvette.
So I think I'm going next. My name is Adang German. Good morning, everyone. I'm a policy officer within the climate change unit at the ministry. So I basically help Yvette. I'm part of the team that's supposed to help with the reporting, every report, climate change report. So I have different roles in this process also. So over to my colleagues. I'm not sure if they will be able to introduce themselves also.
Good afternoon. I am Faye Granuls from the Energy Company. I am from the HSEQ department, and we help with we assist with the GHG inventory within the company.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Faye. German. Welcome. Our other colleagues, Fiona,
Ik ben te
Cyrene,
snel gegaan.
Roshana.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roshana Isaac, and I'm from the energy company as well. I'm working as senior HSEQ officer, and my role within this greenhouse gas inventory process is more to provide data from the energy company. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Roshana and Faye. So both from the energy company, one in Suriname. Very nice to meet you. We have a
Maybe I can introduce Chandani, because Chandani is a student she is doing her how do you say it? Afstudeeropdracht. And she is also helping us with this part within the company.
very
I
good.
asked her to join.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome, Shandini.
I don't understand. Oh, wacht even. Just a second. Yeah. Can you repeat that? I didn't understand.
No, I said thank you and
Okay.
welcome. That's very good.
Okay,
That
okay.
we have some student representation. Very good. Welcome, Chandini or Chandini. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Okay. Is that everyone? I think we have Fiona and Cyrene from the ministry as well. You please go ahead, Fiona.
Hi, everyone. I was not at my desk a few minutes ago. My name is Fiona Di Poirona. I'm the policy officer here at the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment, focusing on adaptation. And my daily task is supporting the team here in the climate change unit.
Hi everyone, my name is Shirin Modivirio. I'm also from the Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen, and welcome everyone. We have one other colleague that just joined us, Anurada. We are doing some introductions. Welcome. So if you could introduce yourself, name, where you're joining us from, and your role in the greenhouse gas inventory process.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry for joining late. The email with the link went into the spam from my inbox, so I didn't get it into my agenda. That's why I missed this meeting. I'm Anuradha Lachman. I'm from the Energy Authority of Suriname in the position of Policy and Management Specialist. Being in a supporting role for the management, I'm engaged with stakeholders engagement and such collaborations with other institutions So that's why I'm here to fulfill the role from the Energy Authority.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and introducing. And you haven't missed much as yet. We've started not so long ago. So very good. Welcome. I think this is a a good group to start our sessions. So for this afternoon's session, the first part will be introducing the provisions to the enhanced transparency framework, looking at what the biennial transparency report comprises of, looking at what the national inventory document, so that is basically the national greenhouse gas inventory, what the countries to the Paris Agreement are to report on, and some of the other reporting tables that are required in the common reporting tables. But before I start, I should say, if you could show with your hands up if you have any background to this topic. Hands up or thumbs up. Okay. So Faye is familiar.
A little
Faye and
bit.
a little bit. Okay. Okay, very good. So just checking before we start, because I know our colleagues from the climate change office will be familiar. Okay, very good. So Yvette has introduced the enhanced transparency framework, and in short, we'll call it the ETF. So under Article 13 of the Paris Agreement, it adopts the enhanced transparency framework. So this is a framework that outlines how parties to the Paris Agreement and UN Climate Change Convention are to report and build transparently report on the actions that they are taking to address climate change, and also in towards the climate change adaptation. So the intention is to build trust between countries and ensure the reliability of information. So anything that you think about when you see the word transparency, and contribute to the effective implementation of the Paris Agreement. And this ETF also takes into account flexibilities for countries with different capacities based on their experience. So we'll see in the next few slides some of the flexibilities that certain developing countries have in terms of reporting. And it also takes into account the special circumstances in the capacities of small island developing states and least developed countries. And Suriname falls into the category of small island states. So that's SIDS. So we'll see some of the flexibilities that are provided there. And the goal of the enhanced transparency framework is to get a clear understanding of the country's actions to make progress towards its national determined contributions, or its NDC's goals. So that's the ambitious climate targets that all countries make and that Suriname has made. And then also to get a good understanding of the support, whether it's financial, technical, or capacity support that's been provided if you are a developed country, or that you received if you're a developing country. And this is just a timeline of how the enhanced transparency framework has progressed through the history of the the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC. So starting in 1992, with the parties signing on to the UN Climate Change Convention, we've had a few developments where parties were reporting on their first national communications in 1997. In 2010, decision was made for all parties to submit national communications every 4 years. In 2015, the Paris Agreement and the start of the ETF. In 2018, we understood the rules, the modalities, procedures, and guidelines of how to report and how to actually put into practice this transparency framework. And then now in 2024, to the decision has been that all parties are to submit their first biennial transparency report. So this would be replacing previous reports under the UN Climate Change Convention, which are the biennial update report and biennial report for developed countries. So what exactly is this? I know we talk a lot about these reporting instruments. So the BTR, the Biennial Transparency Report, is the reporting vehicle for the ETF, and it complements the other communication documents under the Climate Change Convention, such as the National Communications, Adaptation Communications, etc. And the main chapters of this are the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory, the progress for implementing the country's national determined contribution. So getting a chapter stating where is the country in achieving their climate change targets that they put in their NDC, on climate change adaptation, on support needed and received. So that's finance, technology, and capacity building support chapter. Needed and received and provided if you are a developed country. So if you can see here, number 1 and number 2 in dark blue are the chapters of this report that are mandatory. So this has been receiving a lot of importance for countries to complete, especially by the end of 2024. Because the inventory is the main chapter that signals where the country is in terms of its greenhouse gas emissions and its national activities, its national economic activities. So this is another diagram of what it looks like. So you have a separate national inventory report that could be submitted as an annex to the biennial transparency report, or it could be a physical chapter. And these are the different chapters that I have mentioned in the previous slide on NDC, adaptation, and support needed and received. And there's also a chapter on information on flexibility. So if the country, if Suriname does intend to apply some flexibilities in terms of the extent of reporting some information, maybe there's something missing, something unable to be reported, you have flexibility, but in this section of the report, you just need to indicate which flexibilities you applied and why. So the fundamentals, as indicated before, is building on and enhancing. So that's why it's called the Enhanced Transparency Framework. The goal is not to get the perfect report or the most accurate, but to build on the capacity from the previous reports, previous inventories that have been done. There is room for improvement in the future, so that is to be considered. Continuous improvement, where there is improvement, the goal is to do what you're able to do and transparently say where you have improvements that you still need to make, and then work on that for the next cycle. Flexibility, support, and different starting points. So reports that, of course, developing countries and also small island developing states with small staff, small teams, island countries that have very small staff and limited capacity. Everyone is starting at different points, so there is no pressure to report as if you are a developed country, a European country, or the USA, for example. Everyone is at different starting points. So this slide is referring to how this enhanced transparency framework is building also on previous arrangements that were introduced under the UN Climate Change Convention. So at that time, under the UNFCCC, it's referred to as MRV. So that is monitoring, reporting, and verification. So there's very similar types of ways that countries were able to report um, through a biennial update report, through national communications, and through different series of steps where countries are also face external review. So facilitative sharing of views where the country reports, presents their report, presents their BUR, and now presenting their BTR to undergo a review. So the process is mostly similar. They have different names now, but that is the essence. And now the difference is that under the ETF, there is now a compliance committee. So this is a mechanism to facilitate implementation of NDCs and promote compliance. So there's a little bit more stringency or strictness in how these reports will be viewed in the international community. Yes, I see a hand raised. Go ahead, German.
Yes, when you say compliance committee and they are responsible to facilitate implementation, you said? What do you mean by facilitation of implementation of the NDCs? Is that like in finance, in capacity building? What do you mean exactly?
So this is referring to the compliance committee will really be looking at the shall components or the mandatory components of these different reports. So that is the greenhouse gas inventory, and that is the tracking of NDC implementation and progress. So the difference from the previous system is that now you'll have a compliance committee that will also be a part of the review of the technical expert review, or follow that to see whether countries have made all of the mandatory requirements. So the idea is not to punish countries if they have not um, implemented their NDC 100%, but more if they have been completely transparent. So once the country is able to say we have achieved this percentage of progress for our NDC, we have reported our emissions completely or almost completely, and stating all the reasons why or why not, then that will fit within the role of the compliance committee. So it will not be it will not respond to why, for example, if a country is not fulfilling their NDC, they cannot punish you for not doing that, but it's more for not explaining why.
Okay,
So
thanks.
noting that this compliance committee has not started as yet, so we will see how it operates after countries submit their first BTRs at the end in December of this year. But thank you, very good question. Okay, so I've given a overview of this already, but what it will look like is the report, the review, and then review by the technical expert review, so external, and then the country will have an opportunity to present. So present either at the COP or at a subsidiary body meeting or online, and you'll be posed questions live. So these are the three phases of the report once you submit your biennial transparency report. And Yvette and colleagues, and I have mentioned this through speaking already, but all countries are to submit their biennial transparency report no later than the 31st of December of 2024. And so that goes for both developed and developing countries. So this is the first time under the ETF that both developed and developing countries are at the same level of reporting the same report. So previously, developed countries had a report just for them that was annual, and developing countries had a report that they submitted every 2 years with flexibility, and now everyone will be on the same level. However, it is to note that SIDS, small island states, and least developed countries have the discretion to report at a later time if they need to. So if they're not ready by December of this year, they can report at a later time. And we've gone through the outline of the BTR. This is what it looks like in terms of the chapters and linking it to the MPGs where you can find the specific requirements. And this is the outline of the national inventory document. So a part of the BTR is the greenhouse gas inventory chapter. And under the ETF, there is a national inventory document, which is essentially the same way countries would have previously reported their inventory, their greenhouse gas inventories. So including an executive summary, your national circumstances of how your country operates or runs its greenhouse gas inventory process, looking at the trends in greenhouse gases, and then also providing a series of tables, including the different descriptive subsections. So these are in common reporting tables. So this is a standardized way that countries will be reporting their emissions for all of the different sectors. And then, of course, recalculations and improvements. And the various annexes, so looking at the key categories, what are the main categories that affect or drive emissions or removals in the country, uncertainty assessment, how certain is the country that their activity data is true, description of different approaches in the energy sector, reference approach, a quality assurance and quality control plan, and other annexes that may apply. So this is just a summary of the common reporting tables that would need to be provided. It is quite dense, but it is helpful for the UN Climate Change Convention to take stock of all emissions from all 200 plus parties that are signed on to the Paris Agreement. So that's why it's important. It was important for countries to develop these common reporting tables. So this is the electronic reporting of the information in the National Inventory Report. You can get this in terms of Microsoft Excel workbooks containing 60 sheets. And so it's a series of background tables, sector sector report tables, so a report table for all 5 sectors, and then summary tables looking at the trends over the years. And Yvette has mentioned that there is a ETF tool that supports this, that is linked to the IPCC software, and we'll take a look at that in the other sessions in this series. And this is what it looks like when you have the Excel table. This is how it's broken down by sector. We're almost to the end of this session. These are the notation keys that are relevant to the greenhouse gas inventory. Anyone in this team familiar with preparing the inventories and using notation keys? But essentially, every time you have a table, there should be no blank spaces. So for example, if an activity is not occurring, for example, if the aluminum production industry is not occurring in Suriname, you would put for that category that it's not occurring for all of the years because it's not occurring. Not estimated means that the activity happens in the country, but for some reason it was not reported. And you should say why or why not. So not applicable is for activities in the country that occur, but do not result in emissions or removals. So it gets a little bit tricky. Included elsewhere. So this will be, for example, where a gas, where an activity is included in another sector that is reported. C for confidential, whether the emissions from the sources would involve the disclosure of confidential information. And this often happens in industry where the country may have only one industry for that category, and including that information would breach confidentiality with that data provider. And then flexibility, and this is the newest notation key. So this is for cells where data is not available or reported because the country chose to apply a flexibility provision in light of its capacity. We won't go into this new ETF reporting tool today, but this is a tool that's provided by the UNFCCC for countries to develop their common reporting tables for greenhouse gas inventory, and also other tables for the other chapters of the BTR. So this is on support and also on progress, on NDC progress. So on these two, we won't be looking at for this series. And access to this tool is given to certain users of each country. So this would be in the inventory team, more than likely in the ministry, with access to this. And because we will be looking at the greenhouse gas inventory, I would just like to give you a preview of what are the areas that have flexibility for the greenhouse gas inventory. So you have flexibility for small island developing states, and as well as other developing countries that need it. So that's for the key category analysis. There's a lower threshold for identifying what are the key categories. I think this might not be an issue for Suriname, because you have most of your sectors already included, but essentially your key categories are the categories or the main emission categories that drive emissions or drive removals, like your forests, that represent 95% of emissions and removals in the country. So the top 95%. Uncertainty assessment. So this could be at minimum qualitative if you don't have numbers to say this is the plus minus percentage certainty of the data that we receive from our data providers, then you can at minimum state that what the level of uncertainty is in a qualitative way, in a written way, using the notation keys not estimated. So there's a threshold for what is considered not estimated based on the significance. So using a smaller threshold. For QA, QC, it's encouraged, which means that it's not mandatory to provide a QA, QC plan. And reporting on the 7 gases, there's some flexibility that developing countries need to report on at least 3, the main gases, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Time series. So this is referring to the length of time that countries report on their emissions. So it should be starting from 1990, but this is not possible for various developing countries due to the years that data was available in countries. It might have started in much later years. So the flexibility is that parties may report data covering at minimum from the reference year of the NDC. So that's at minimum for most countries, at minimum 2015 when their first NDC was submitted, or the year that it refers to in its NDC. But this will not be an issue for Suriname either, because you have data from well before 2015. And another important one is the last reporting year. So because reports for greenhouse gas inventory should now be reported every 2 years, the last year of which you analyze your emissions should be technically no more than 2 years prior to the submission of the year that you're submitting your inventory. So for example, if you're submitting in 2024, the last year of your inventory should be 2022. So that's 2024 minus 2. But for flexibility for developing countries, the last reporting year could be 3 years prior to the submission year. So the reporting year minus 3. So these are some of the key points that we've gone through. Understanding the framework, the ETF, data collection and reporting is very important for this process. Quality assurance and quality control. And I know we have some HSCQ people here. This is the Q in the HSCQ. Very important, as I imagine it is for your jobs also in the energy sector. And yes, focus on capacity building, on documentation and transparency is important, and continuous improvement. So noting that you can learn from your past reporting experiences to enhance the current. It does not need to be perfect. So I will take a pause here and I will see if anyone has any questions for now. For most, is this information new information for most colleagues? Give me a hands up or a thumbs up.
I have a clarification question.
Sure.
I think I read this already, but it's not printed in my mind. So you have the National Inventory Document, the National Inventory Report, and the BTR.
Mhm.
Can you explain the relationship between those documents?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and I think I will take us back to the slide that it shows the outline of the BTR. Oops. So the BTR is the main report that has all of the various chapters. One of the mandatory ones being the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory. So one of the chapters should be the National Inventory Document. In essence, uh, it's very similar to that of the national inventory reports that would have that countries have been previously reporting and that Suriname reported in 2022, end of 2022. So it's very similar. The only difference is that now there are new tables. There are these 60 Excel tables that need to be provided in addition to the text and the national inventory report that's describing the trends, that's showing the activity data and the trends of the different sectors. So it's still expected that you will develop a report like your traditional national inventory report or GHG inventory. Under the ETF, it's called a national inventory document, but it's referring mainly to the additional tables and annexes that are a requirement. But you will still need to maintain the same requirements in terms of doing your key categories, uncertainty, institutional arrangements, etc. That is similar to what has been done in your previous national inventory reports. It's just now noting that this document should be should be a report of its own. So yes, it is considered a chapter of the BTR, but this chapter could be referenced. So you can have your BTR chapter and you have your inventory section. You can put a summary, or we can refer to your national inventory report or document as a separate document, because it should be more comprehensive than just a summary chapter.
Okay, thank you. That was clear.
Okay. I mean, it's also new for most people in this reporting community, because like I mentioned, this is the first time it will be done um, for everyone for their BTR. This is a new requirement. But yeah, that's a very, very good question. Okay. Are you ready for a short exercise before we take a short break?
Hope so.
Hope so. Okay. So let's run it. Let's run it this way. We'll have whoever, you can either put it in the chat, or let's put your responses in the chat so that we can see who gets the answers right. So true or false, developing countries that need flexibility in light of their capacities may only apply flexibilities that are specifically identified in the modalities, procedures, and guidelines. True or false? Okay, we have some true. Let's see. Number 2, what is the threshold percentage of identifying key categories in a greenhouse gas inventory according to the flexibility provisions? This one is tricky, but we just saw the slide. A, B, or C? Okay, we have someone saying B, 85%, D, 95, A, 75. Okay, we'll find the answers right now. And number 3, which option is provided regarding reporting on gases under under flexibility provisions? So parties have the option to have flexibility on reporting all 7 gases, at least 5 greenhouse gases, on at least 3 greenhouse gases, or only on CO2 emissions. They have some C on at least 3 plus additional gases from their NDC. Okay, let's see the answer. All right, so I think everyone got the answer right for number 1. It's true that developing countries need flexibility. They can only apply flexibility from those that are specifically in the MPGs. That is true. Well done, everyone. Oops. Number 2, the threshold percentage is no lower than 85. So those who said 85%, which were most of you, were correct. So this is the flexibility that you can do no lower than 85% in place of the 95% threshold identified in the IPCC guidelines. And number 3, the answer is C. It's not highlighted here, but it's reporting at least the 3 greenhouse gases. And this last 3 questions, I've given it away. But developing countries are required to report on a consistent annual time series starting from 1990, according to the flexibility provisions. That would be false. And anyone remember what is, for number 4, what is the flexibility that countries can have for starting their time series? From their NDC period, right? So at minimum from the NDC period. And for the presentation, for countries presenting their BTR in 2024, can request flexibility to include information of its emissions from up to the year blank. Otherwise, they must present information up to blank. So remember, technically, it should be 2024. It should be 2021. If you can request flexibility to present information up to 2021. Otherwise, they must present information up to 2022. So it's a reporting year -2, as it should be. And if you want flexibility, it's the reporting year -3. And the last one, once the notation key FX is applied, the developing country party is not required to provide an explanation of how flexibility is applied. So that is false. So all reporting is supposed to cover transparency. So once you apply flexibility, you should explain, or you're required to explain how and why you need this flexibility. So the answer is false. Okay. So those last 3 were easy because I gave the answers, but they were easy anyway. So this is the end of this first session on this overview of BTR, National Inventory Document, Common Reporting Tables. Our next session will be looking at the IPCC guidance, and the IPCC software, and and then we'll look at the energy sector and going into the software. So we will be using the software in the next session. So I will invite everyone to download the software if they don't already have it, so that we can use it in the next session. But before we take our break, are there any questions or any comments from this first session or the way forward? Sure, go ahead, German.
I understand that every country has to use the common reporting tables and common tabular formats to do the reporting. So I'm just thinking out loud now, how can we make our templates or questionnaires or data gathering templates or whatever you call it to be
To fit.
to fit those tables or those formats.
Okay. So I think it's a good question also. The common tabular formats for the common reporting table, for greenhouse gas inventory, are mainly reporting the results. So and the results come from the estimation. So what we'd be focusing more on before we get to the reporting tables, as the reporting tables are just showing the results so that they can be easily accounted for and compared between countries. But the area to focus on for data collection would be the same process that would be done for preparing your greenhouse gas inventory using the IPCC guidance. So after the break, I can preview. I could show some of the templates that follow the IPCC guidance for ways that it would be helpful to countries to collect their data. And I can show that example for the energy sector if you like.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. That's a very practical intervention there. Okay. Are there any others, colleagues? Okay. If not, then let's take a short break. So from now,
Brittany,
yes, let's go ahead.
before we go into the break, I do have a question. With regard to the years, the reporting years, I know that it is our first BTR and also for other counties, but it still remains logical that you have to compare the data that you have of these years that you are collecting data of with your less updated greenhouse gas inventory. So now we know that the latest greenhouse gas inventory of Suriname has data up until 2017. If we only report for the BTR on 2020, 21 and 22, it will not be transparent enough for the team to compare the information that you place in this current greenhouse gas inventory with your last one, because you will have a gap. So isn't it as we already discussed, isn't it best to have the data that is missing from the previous year, so before 21, also in the common reporting table?
Yes. So let me thank you, Yvette, for that question clarification. So I would like to clarify the year that is 2021 or 2022 is the last reporting year. So the countries still need to report their entire time series. So it would just be collecting new data from 2018 to 2022 or 2021, whichever the country chooses, to fill the time series up to that time. But the Suriname will still need to report on the trends from the first year that it has data for. So that is the year 2000, I think, if I'm not mistaken, right? So taking it all the way, the country still has to report the entire time series. That year, 2021 or 2022, was referring to only the last year of data that the country should report on. Yeah, because sometimes it's difficult if we're reporting in 2024 to collect data from 2023 because it may not be finished processing, or the process starts earlier. So that's why the minimum requirement is the reporting year -2. So reporting in 2024, your last data would be from 2022 or 2021 if you apply flexibility. But the country will still need to report from all the time series that it has available. So that hasn't changed. And if there's new data or new methodologies, then you would need to also recalculate from the previous years, if there's new data or new methodology in place. So I hope that clarifies that a little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, German.
So it's not that you are as a country that you should report only 2 years with regards to the time series. So you can, let's say you can just report over the years 2000 until 2022.
22. Yep.
Yeah, all those years.
All those years.
Within one BTR.
Yes, that's correct.
If you have updated information.
So you have to report it even if you don't have updated information. But if you do have updated information, well, you will have new information from 2018 to 2022. So every time you submit your inventory or your BTR, you'll be adding more years. So in 2026, you'll be adding 2023 to 2024 at minimum. So every time you'll be adding years, and hopefully it should be easier to process data as you go further and further. So it should take less time because you would have the information from your previous inventories, and it will just be adding 2 years basically every time you do a greenhouse gas inventory.
Okay, so just to be clear, we already reported on the years 2000 until 2017. So we should just use the same data and put it into a BTR so that
Yes.
in our BTR we also have reported the same years, the same time series.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. That's
Okay.
correct. So that's right. You'll just be adding to it. You'll just be adding from 2018 to 2022 in this case. But yes, you will still include the data from the last inventory. That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. But that work has been done, right? So you only need to focus on adding the new data. Okay. Very good. Thanks. Very good questions. Are we ready to take a short break? Or we have any other questions? I'm okay. I get some thumbs up. So we have another.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Rashana.
I have a question.
Sure.
How can we download the software?
Okay, I will send the link in the chat so that you can get directly to the link.
Sorry,
I'll
I did
just-
not hear you. Could you please repeat?
Sure. I will put a link to the website in the chat so that you can download it. It's
Okay,
free.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that now. Okay, thank you, colleagues. So it's 1:27. So let's come back at 1 in 15 minutes at 1:45. Or 12:45, sorry. Okay, 15 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Hello, colleagues. Is everyone back? Okay, see thumbs up. Everyone is here. Okay. You had a good short break, stretch, had a bite of something to eat. Okay. Has everyone managed to download the version of the IPCC software?
I had issues. I had some questions. Shireen asked which one she should download because there are
Two options, right?
yeah,
It depends on your computer, but
computer.
the one with 32-bit should work for any standard laptop. If you have one that's has more processing power, you can download the 64-bit. 32 should work fine. But that's okay. We'll go through an introduction of it before. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for being back. This session that will go for the next, we'll try to take 30 minutes just to introduce the IPCC software. And then we will go into the software. We'll go into the energy sector, sorry, and then we'll return to the software. Is that okay? So by hands or by raising your hands or by coming off of your mic or in the chat, who has used the IPCC inventory software before? No, no one. Me. Okay, so that means that everyone is new to the IPCC inventory software. Okay, so the inventory, the national GHG inventory can be prepared using the IPCC inventory software. This is not the only way that countries put together and prepare their greenhouse gas inventories. But this software was developed by the IPCC, so that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And they have done it, they have prepared the software to make it easier for countries, particularly developing countries, to input their activity data and linking it to an emission factor database that provides a series of default emission factors to help countries to do their emission estimations a little bit easier without having to refer to the guidelines to find each emission factor. The latest, so it started in 2012, and their new versions, the latest version was in August this year. So it's a standalone and with very simple hardware requirements, and it has data entry worksheets for easy use. It's the predecessor to the IPCC software was a series of Excel workbooks. Those are still useful, but you can import and export the working sheets. Okay, see our colleague Roshana has put in the chat that are having a few technical issues with downloading the software. If you have a MacBook, it will be difficult because the IPCC software works best on Windows. But do you have a MacBook, Roshana? If that's the case, then you'd need a virtual PC. But in the meantime, the software is also, the IPCC software is free. It works best on Windows, a Windows computer, and it allows different parts of the inventory to be developed simultaneously. So it works on a simple database file. So it's not online. So that is to dispel any confusions. It is hardware type of software. So it's not it's not on the internet or anything. So you can't work on it simultaneously online on the internet, but you can allow permissions. For example, the inventory supervisor or the super user can have access to all sheets, and then that super user can provide access to each sector or certain categories, etc. So the architecture of it is that you have worksheets for data entry, and it looks like this. It goes by panel. Oops. It has a panel here for, this is the data entry worksheet by category, and then you can see all of the different subcategories for, this is for transport, for all of the different fuel categories. It provides an area for you to include default data and default emission factors. And because it is saved as a database file, it serves as a data archive. So if you have done your previous greenhouse gas inventories in the software, you can save it. And when you're adding your new years, you can use the same database and just add a new year. So it helps in archiving your work as well. Faye, you have a question? I saw your hand up.
Yeah, should we sign in, because I had some problems with my computer and I didn't got a chance to hear what you were saying in the beginning. So because we need, I think, a password or something.
Mhm. Just hold on. We'll do that as part of the exercise.
Okay,
But
okay.
it sounds like you're in the right place. You have the software on your computer now.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Don't worry, you're in the right place. We'll do that as part of the exercise shortly.
Okay.
Very good. So this, once you're in and signed in, this is what the user input looks like, where you add your activity data here, and you add your emission factors. If you use defaults, you can it enters it automatically for you. And this is just the profile. This is just a profile of countries who use the IPCC software. Like I said, it's not a requirement for countries to use the IPCC software. So in 22% of developing countries, this is from 2022, of the 77 developing countries, the inventory software is not used. 8% use the Excel-based software. So that means the manual sheets where you enter the data manually and calculate it in an Excel. The precursor to the software. 2% use it for quality control. So maybe they do their estimations in some other way, and then they use the software as quality control for checking their emissions. And then 68% of developing countries do use it, because especially for for experts who are new to this, it helps to remove some of the questions that you have because it includes the IPCC guidance and emission factors already in the software, and we'll see as we click through. And I think Suriname did use the IPCC inventory software for its last greenhouse gas inventory. So you are one of the 77 countries. Okay, so the new features, like I mentioned, this software has been around for a long time, since 2012, and it is updated very frequently. So the most recent version is 2.93, version 2.93 from August of this year. And it is this version now covers the interoperability function with the UNFCCC Common Reporting Table reporting tool. So for countries to be able to develop their common reporting tables, this was previously not a part of the software, but now as the ETF is now operational, this is a new function of the tool, of the software. Other features that the software allows for each source or sink to use either a single methodology or a mix of tiers. So I will get into what the tiers are in the other session, but the level of complexity. So you can have the most basic tier 1 using default emission factors that are automatically populated, or if you have country-specific studies for a particular sector or activity, then you can use your own national methodologies or higher tiers, tier 2 or tier 3. It allows for the user to put specific emission factors and parameters, so you don't have to use default. You can also manually enter your own emission factors, and it implements global warming potential values from the assessment report number 5. And what this really means is that almost every year, the IPCC also, from its studies in the scientific community, update the global warming potential or the value of how the different greenhouse gases physically react in the atmosphere. So it's important to use the most recent, because this is the most recent in the scientific community. And it also stores the entire set of information from the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory within a single database, which is helpful for various countries. This is the interface. So when we get in, we will explore this. We have the main menu with import, export, producing different reports from the different sectors. You get to select which category you want. This one is previewing the energy sector. Let me know if you can see this well. It has a hierarchical list of all categories. So it starts from the main category, the main sector, energy, and then it goes and breaks it down into different subcategories. So electricity production, to transport, to the other subcategories. And there are parts here in white where countries are entering their activity data. And for example, this is energy. This is by different fuel. So this is the activity data for this section. And it also shows where, once you have data for previous years, what the emissions are for your time series. So it shows a display of the data that you have from previous years as well. The other one is notation keys. And we went through what notation keys were in the previous presentation. So for example, here where you have the key, if there's something that is not available or a category that's not estimated, you can click the key and enter the appropriate notation key. You can also check your uncertainties from default values, default uncertainties that are within the software in the uncertainty tab. And you can also enter data in a time series. So for example, if you have data for, these are fuels, right? If you have fuels from production of oil and gas, and you put per gas, you can per fuel type, sorry, you can enter that data by time series, by each year. And these are some of the reports that are available that you can produce from the software. So a summary report. So this is from the energy sector, or 1A1 is for energy. So this will show you emissions for summary of emissions in the energy sector. Short summary, which will collapse emissions from just the main categories. If you're looking at it in sectoral, having it broken down by each subcategory, so it's the most disaggregated. And then you have background report, which is helpful for producing your activity data in the activity data. So the data that you input before your emissions are produced. So this is a good function to keep track of and archive your greenhouse gas inventory. So this non-Annex 1 reporting table was a requirement, is still a requirement for reporting on greenhouse gas inventories. This is in addition to the common reporting tables. And there's a way that you can export this summary table as well. So this is a reporting table that will show you the emissions for all of your different sectors. And it looks like this, right? And we'll see this when we go into the exercise. So you hit export here and you'll put your inventory table. You'll click the National Non-Annex 1 reporting table, or NAI. And yeah, here you see that it will show you the summary by gas, CH4, CO2, etc., for each sector and each activity. And this is similar to what you will see in the common reporting tables. The IPCC software also helps countries to produce the different analyses that are requirements for the inventory. So that is the uncertainty analysis and the key category analysis. So when you've completed entering all the data in the software for each sector for each year, then you can analyze your key categories. So evaluating what is the top 95% most important categories that drive emissions and removals for Suriname. And you can also export these into Excel. So that is a way that you can export it into Excel and copy and paste it easily into your reports. And this is what it looks like in practice. We'll see how far we can get through this with this today. But these are the tools. So you have reference approach, which is the top-down approach for the energy sector, and then the uncertainty analysis and key category analysis. And this is what it will pull. It will pull data from all the years you have available and summarize them up to what the 95th percentile is. And some other basic operations that we will go through. And this is just to give you a preview before we go into the software. You click on the tab for inventory year, and you can either create a new year or select a year. And so we will do this in the exercise. So for example, for our new years that we are entering data for, which is 2018 to 2022, we will need to create these years before we put in the data. So this is how you would do this. And this is what I was referring to when I said that you can have multiple users for the software. So you can have your main user, and in this case, we'll call it the project manager or the inventory manager. So they will have the main database file, and so that's a MDB file. And then they can assign sectors to each expert. So if you have a expert for energy, they can assign and select all of the sectors and subcategories that would be for that expert to maintain. And then you can do that, and then the expert would then enter it into their use the database to enter their data, and then send back either the Excel file or the database file. But ideally, it's better to send back an Excel file or an XML file to the project manager to enter into the main database. And this will help reduce losing or overwriting the main database unintentionally. And then once all of the sectors are done and in the main database is then when you can do your QA, QC checks, your uncertainty analysis, key category analysis, and prepare the final outputs. And all matters regarding the IPCC software should be taken to the technical support unit of the IPCC. And so they have a help desk and a web forum for all users of the IPCC software to address questions in their community. Okay. So let's do an exercise. Has everyone downloaded the software successfully? Launched it on their computer? I know Roshana and Faye have already. I think German has. Okay. So let's do the basics. So we'll do sharing the database and importing and exporting worksheets. So this, let me know by hands up or from the mic if everyone has the IPCC software open, and tell me what they see. Roshana and Faye, do you have this window on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is this is where you've started, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, and Yvette says yes, she sees the same window as in the presentation. Okay, so for this, we will be defining a super user. So for the first time users of the software, it prompts you to this window where you will have to define a login and a password for using the software for the first time. So if you haven't done it already, or if you haven't used it already, please use this login and password here. Super user underscore Suriname and password Suriname.
Password is?
Super user underscore Suriname password
Okay,
is
so-
Suriname.
And you can give yourself a password hint. So you can tell yourself what the password is there, because if you don't recall what this password and username is, you will not be able to access this database file the next time you use it. So very important that you write it down or record it somewhere what the login and password is. Thumbs up or let me know if you've finished this part.
Yan kayong new inventory years 2024
Needed correctly.
is the speaker.
Yeah, my speaker is
Finish?
on.
Okay,
I
finish
can
and go ahead.
choose country, territory.
Okay, good. So that's the next step. So
Oh,
choose
okay.
country, territory.
Okay.
So I think Suriname is under Latin American Caribbean, but it might be under South America.
No, it's on the lock.
It's under LAC? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Under?
choose
Latin American and Caribbean.
No, nagkamta niya sikat info doon. Okay, good here.
That's okay.
No, hindi. Malingas.
okay.
Good.
Create
Okay,
new
finish.
inventory.
Okay, create new inventory year. So let's see. Let's create the year 2018 and create an empty inventory year. And once you've created the new inventory year, it will then tell you to check and modify your inventory preferences.
Where do you
Okay.
where do you
You choose.
well,
Where do you choose? Okay. So let's go to
I get something different.
You get
Um,
something different here? Let's go to
I
preference.
don't get that. I get uh there are no worksheets available within the selected IPCC category. What did I do? I don't know. I'll go back.
When you click up OK, it brings you to how do you call it? It brings you to a worksheet.
Yeah. And
And
then
then
you
you can see
no worksheets available.
yeah, I think because you need to fill in the data.
Go back.
Okay. Where?
Brittany, is that okay
Yes.
that we are there?
Yes. So where are you on this screen? These application.
We don't have that screen.
We don't have this screen. What happened is when we click OK, and we did not got the opportunity also to click in a range like yours, because I see you have there 1919 until 2025. So you have a range. We did not get the possibility to fill in a range. So it was
Okay.
only 2018, and when we click on OK, then it brings you to another page where you go to the worksheets.
Okay. So that's okay. So let's find it under country, territory, administration. One moment here. Okay, so go to application. Let me share application and preferences.
Yeah.
And then you will go to inventory year tab.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you get the range.
Right. And
So there we need to put in 2018 for start year.
So if I would say for start year, because Suriname has an inventory from 2000, put the start inventory year as 2000.
Oh, 2000, okay.
And put your last inventory year as 2022.
Okay.
And we can put your base year for assessing uncertainty as 2000.
Okay.
All is okay. I can switch my screen to show you the screen I have. Can you see the screen here with the software here?
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone is at this stage?
Yeah, I already pressed OK and I get nothing.
Okay,
Also,
so apply.
the same here.
Okay. So it depends on what database you have been using, but let's apply. Okay. I have open one of the default databases, and this is called dummy data. So that's why my one is from 1990. But because you've started a new database, it should be you could define whichever it is.
But why can I not see the inventory year or the start and end year? Because I still see no worksheet available.
Yeah.
So where are you from in this here? When you go to application and preferences, you have start year as 2000, end year
Yeah.
2022.
And
Apply.
base year assessment,
Okay,
2000.
2000. Click apply first and then okay.
No, the apply button is not active.
Yeah.
Only okay.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay, because it wouldn't be active unless you've made a change. So you've made the previous change already. So for example, if I make a change, the apply button reappears. Apply. It's
Oh,
only if you,
yeah. Do you know what happened? Faye, probably what we did, we changed the year manually, but there is a down and up, what do you call it,
Okay.
option.
Yeah,
That's
Mhm.
why it is inactive, because
it
now
took
it's
too
active.
long. It took too long.
And
Oh,
that is
okay.
the tricky
Yeah,
thing about these things.
yeah. I got it
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Okay.
So
You got it.
I press apply, but then okay,
Okay. And then
right?
okay. Correct. So now let's go to inventory year here. And now we can choose, because we have already made a range from 2000 to 2022. Let's choose now from the years that we have available.
But I still
Yeah.
can see my worksheet.
But yeah, it's empty.
No, I
So
can see that now. So I get inventory year.
Let me
Choose.
try again.
choose.
Yeah.
These, if you
So
have nothing here, when
yeah.
you select choose, you have nothing. You have none of these
No,
years available, right?
no, only 2018.
Okay. So for each, so we'll only be working in 2018 for this exercise, but for the inventory user, uh, you would need to enter all years. You would need to create a new year for 2000, 2001, 2002, up to 2018, and then enter data for each year. So even though we set the range, it doesn't create it for you.
Hey, this well. What is that?
I still cannot see anything.
Can you not see my screen?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thrown out. How come?
Hindi lang meeting kasi see that means means
Oh,
So let's create the year 2018 if you haven't created it
here
already.
what's so left the
agree.
Create.
inventory year.
And then you should see a prompt that says successfully created new year for 2018.
So can you repeat it?
Sure. So we go to this tab here that says inventory year.
Yeah,
So let's create new.
yeah. And then you only
And
have 28. I only have 2018 there.
okay, so that means you have you have 2018 already created. So
Yeah.
and you will know what year you are in, what year you have open, based on what you see at the bottom here. It says here 2018. Do you have 2018 here at the bottom of the tab of the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So then you're in 2018. You've made it. But for following years and for other years that you need to add data, you would do the same, create a new year and add for each year from 2000 to 2022, you would need to add a new year. But you can only work in 1 year at a time. So,
Oh, okay.
but for now, we'll only work in 2018. So that's okay.
Huh?
But we still don't see the blue the spreadsheet. We don't see anything.
It's empty.
Even
What,
if
this you
we
mean? This here?
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. This changes based on whatever you click. So it depends on what you
Oh,
click, it will show. So that's okay. It's just what I had
okay.
selected. So it changes, but we're in the right year. But before we get into putting in
Oh,
data
okay.
here, we will go and set our default CO2, carbon dioxide equivalents, and we will, let's take this here. Let's go to administrate.
Yeah.
CO2 equivalents, because we need to make sure that we're using the right one, the one that is
Yeah.
required
CO2
for the report.
equivalents.
Right.
Yes.
So let's select AR5. So this is the most recent report, the most recent global warming potentials for the different gases.
AR5. It's already selected.
Okay, good. So it's set as default in this newest version because the IPCC team is smart and they know that this is the requirement. So it's set as a default already. So set
I
as
think I
default.
lost you guys.
Okay.
Cannot keep. I
Let's
still
see.
could not see the sheet.
The sheets is also up the drop down na nalinker kandar click. You see toch electricity generation and so
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
als je daarop klikt, dan ga je die sheet zien.
Oh, okay.
So-
Op die manier.
Okay. Oh,
En dan
So
moet je
this-
van...
Oh,
We thought it
gosh.
would come up automatically on your screen.
yeah.
Nee.
These will change depending on what is
Yes.
selected. So we're not looking at the sheet for now. It's just
Nee.
it's just what is on the screen. But we're still doing the administrative things to make sure that we are set up in the background information is set up. So
Okay.
so this is where we were Yvette, administrate, just click CO2 equivalents and AR5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you meet that requirement. And now let's go to adding a new user. So let's go to administrate,
Yeah.
users.
Users.
And for you,
Mm-hmm.
you had your login, you put super user on Suriname, right? Suriname.
Yeah.
So this is what it should look like for you. For me, I'm test today, but for you it will say super user Suriname.
Yes.
And so let me put in test. That's for me. And so you have to enter super user underscore Suriname, the same thing that you identified in your login, and you will enable check that you are a super user.
So you put in there super user underscore Suriname and then check the box.
Correct. And then check the box. Save.
Okay.
If you have an correct.
You don't get it doesn't give you the option to save.
No,
Save is right on these tabs here. Save.
Yeah, but
admin.
it's not I only get add new to click on. I cannot click on save.
yeah.
Okay. Did you enter the user here?
Yes.
Okay.
Super user underscore Suriname, then I
Click.
check the box.
So if it's already shaded, then that means you're already a super new user. If, for example, you have more project managers that you need to add as a credentials for, you can add a new one.
Okay.
You can add a new. So you would have to specify the login name and add new.
So for now, it can stay like this.
Yes, for now it can stay like this. And so now let's see for energy. So let's.
I can't. Ik ben lost.
So let me
I
put this on
cannot check the super user.
Once you add this here, if you see that super user underscore Suriname is already here, then it's already a super user. So now let's.
You need to click on it and see.
Okay, we're almost there.
Yeah.
This so now let's create users for just the energy sector. So let's select all of energy. So we can select the top one for energy, and we can put in
it is not possible to select.
Yeah, you need to go to administrate and selection.
which is not
No.
possible to select here for number one
Oh.
energy.
It doesn't kaya info lang.
Okay.
No,
can
it's
select
gray
there.
and it looks like it's already checked. The boxes are already
Yes,
checked.
yes.
So let's select users,
Yeah.
Okay.
because if you select super user, this so
yeah.
users.
Yeah. Now it's
you-
active.
Right. So you can give permissions for just one sector or two sectors, depending on how it is. If this is not the case, if for example Suriname, if your team, if everyone will have super user credentials, that's also fine. It depends on the country, but I'm just showing you how you can give just one sector for one expert to enter the data. So select users. Let's select energy, just the top box. You can also give them just one subcategory, but let's do all of energy. So I'm trying to share two screens at the same time, but the credentials here for energy, let's put Suriname _ energy in here.
Oh. Suriname _ energy.
And then add new. So now we have two. We have a super user, which is Suriname, super user Suriname, and users for just one sector is Suriname Energy or Energy Suriname, whichever way you want. And you can also set a password. So you could put energy.
But how come you cannot edit the super user Suriname? Because if you click on super user Suriname, there's it does get it gets gray and I cannot click on anything.
Okay, because for super user means that you have access to all sheets, so everything is selected.
Okay. Yeah.
And for just individual users, you have access to some. So that is why. Don't worry, this software is a little tricky, but this is just some of the administrative things to set up before you start putting in data. So you can set your password to whichever you like. I put energy and I put the password hint. Energy. And then I put the password hint to help. Password is energy, so you don't forget. New password. Okay, save. Good. Close.
Just a second.
No problem. That's why I haven't closed it yet.
What do you put in password hint?
So the hint is just if you want to give yourself a hint for the next time, it will, when you click the little question mark at login, is to remind yourself of what the password is. So my hint was the password is energy.
I'm gonna try that also.
For people like me who forget passwords.
Okay.
Then
you get new password set.
Correct.
Okay.
Save. And in the future, only the super user can change the passwords if they want to. Okay, so close. And then for the to maintain the database, before we get started, let's save it. Let's go to database. Save as. And then you can choose to save it wherever you keep your documents, right? So I'll put mine on my desktop today. Suriname, IPCC, database, whatever you'd like to save it as. And then in the future, this is where you will access your database and keep saving it to. So, so would you like to proceed? It will need to close and reopen. Would you like to remove database password protection? So no. So let's keep the password protection because you will need it for okay. We don't need to zip it. We don't need to compress it. Very good.
I get current database must be closed before saving on the different file name. It will be reopened after saving. Would you like to proceed?
I have the same thing.
Yes, so you can select yes, so you can close it.
Okay.
Let's do
And
it
the
again. Save
starter,
as.
would you like to remove database password protection? That is no or yes?
That is no. Let's keep the so no. We don't want to remove it.
Okay. And then there is database file saved. So would you like to compress it?
No.
It's if you want to save it somewhere to compress it. It gives you
No.
lots of options, but
So many options.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll close the database and reopen it in the new name. Would you like to close? Yes. And then to reopen, and this is how you will reopen the database every single time. So open database, and we will find where it was. It will take you to the default in your program data where the software was downloaded. But my database is in here. Suriname IPCC database.
Maandat at ma-password ni Ken.
Have you opened it?
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Mine goes back to the old page.
It goes back to this page here, to the login.
You need to log in.
Oh no, I don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's if you have to open it, reopen it.
You know?
This is just the beginning. So let's open the database.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Let's go to the database where you saved it.
You close it.
Mine is here. Is everyone on the same steps?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
It's asking if you want to back up. You can back it up if you want. And then now
login name and password.
Yeah.
so it's the same one that you created. So mine was what was it?
This super user underscore Suriname.
Super user underscore Suriname. Or you can do energy Suriname.
That's what the Suriname.
Password is Suriname. So you see, that's the first lesson to save your password and log in.
Inventory year is still 2018.
Yes, so then we're back to the same place. So now we can start. So this is 2018.
Oh, okay.
So Okay.
Okay, go back.
So so stay on that page where you are. We'll take a short redirection now to the energy, because now I'll introduce the energy data that we will put in the year 2018. So is everyone in 2018?
I think so. Yeah.
And if you're not, you can always go to inventory year, choose, and you choose the year, or you create the year.
Okay.
And you will know if you see it down here that you're in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So let me stop sharing the screen. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to the software, don't worry. But let me let me introduce the energy sector, because from that we'll then enter the data. We have 20 more minutes in our session, so we might not finish everything, but now that you have this software, we may put some of the exercise in the software as homework. But that's okay.
Is there a manual fee?
We will do as much as we can in this time. Here we are.
Any IPCC guideline is enforcement.
Oops.
This time.
Our colleagues, one moment. Okay. So now we'll take a look at the energy sector. I will give just an overview of the energy sector greenhouse gas inventory based on what is included in Suriname's inventory. So we already went through in the previous session what constitutes an inventory. It's the parties report on all of these gases, but the main ones being carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. These three. We'll be using the IPCC guidelines, which is the basic guidelines that also are the guidelines that underpin the inventory software. So this is the guidance that we use. And you also have access to these guidelines from the same website that I had shared in the chat from the IPCC. And these give a more description of the methodologies and the data that you need for each sector. And it has 5 volumes, one for each sector and for general guidance. Let me take off that red pen. So for the greenhouse gas inventory, we spoke about our super user, and basically that is the body that the overall responsibility. So that is the ministry, our ministry colleagues, the climate change directorate, the directorate that is responsible for UNFCCC reporting. And then this is where each of you in the energy sector would fall, right? I think, Roshana, you said you're more of a data provider. Faye, you mentioned that you participate in the estimation of the inventory estimates.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have the other level, which would be reviewers, right? So that is perhaps maybe on my side and also on the ministry side when they are doing reviews, right, with other national experts and stakeholders. And this is just an overall look at what the emissions profile of Suriname was in its last greenhouse gas inventory. So from the time series of 2000 to 2017, everything, these are emissions in gigagrams of CO2 equivalents. And so As you can see, everything that is under 0 in the negatives represent removal, right? A removal of emissions from the atmosphere. And this is all due to the forest, the extremely forested country, Suriname, coverage. It's I think it's 93% of forest coverage, I recall from your last inventory. And so you have more removals than you have emissions. So thus the country is is carbon negative. So you're a remover of emissions. And for the energy sector, this is what it looks like. Right. So these are the main categories that were a part of Suriname's greenhouse gas inventory that was reported in 2022. So the main being energy industries here in green would be electricity production, here. And then we have here manufacturing industries and construction. So this is energy that is used, or fuel that is used and consumed for industrial processes to put into those industries. This 34% is mainly representative of electricity production. And then the biggest percentage here is from the transport, right? So the fuel that is used for vehicles, for passenger vehicles, buses, trucks, motorcycles, etc. And then we have this other sector, which is this could include residential use of butane, for example. This could also include fuel that is used in off-road vehicles or in the agriculture sector, etc. But we'll take a look at that more when we go into the software. And so I mentioned previously in passing the different key elements of the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory, as well as the National Inventory Document. For all of the different sectors, it starts with data collection, the phase that all of you have been a part of, and the team at the ministry there contacted you to collect data. If you have the uncertainty values available, to have that recorded, to choose which tier or method that you'd like to use, whether it's the most simple, tier 1, or more country specific, tier 2 and tier 3. Like your forestry sector, for example, uses tier 2 and tier 3 methods because you have more national studies that you can use. Identifying your key categories, putting together your time series from 2000 to 2022 now. Once that is done, performing quality assurance and quality control checks for entering the data, as well as reviewing with external reviewers. That's the quality assurance. Verification, if you have an external body to verify, and then submitting your report. And these are the basics for estimating emissions, right? So your emissions estimate. So this is in terms of greenhouse gases that are emitted from a certain activity. It involves the activity data, which could be, for example, for the energy sector, the volume of fuels, terajoules of the different gasoline, diesel, coal, etc., that the country uses to run the country, multiplied by its emission factor. So this is the factor, the conversion factor that that states how much energy in this amount of fuel is equivalent to this quantity of gas. So this is the general methodology, and the activity data will change for each sector, and the emission factors will change for each sector. And especially for developing countries, we can use default emission factors in the place where national emission factors are not available. But for the energy sector, emission factors are very reliable because the content of different fuels does not vary significantly. And this is just a diagram of the different tiers. Tier 1, meaning that you're using default parameters for each sector. Tier 2, which means that you are using country-specific factors and activity data. And tier 3, you get more into the technology-specific or nationally specific parameters based on a particular activity, or if you have factors for a particular industry that you can use. The more detailed it gets, the higher the tier.
Brittany,
Yes.
a question. Can you give an example of country-specific factors?
Sure. So I can give a good example would be from the forestry sector. So for example, a country-specific parameter would be that Suriname has done studies on the broadleaf forests category that of the forest that's available in Suriname, and that you have quantified how much carbon is in that specific type of forest, so that you know exactly how much carbon, you know exactly how many emissions is coming from that particular species. This could also be, so that's for the forestry sector. For the energy sector,
And for energy?
and for energy, it's a little bit. This could be like for example on the facility level. So for example, for your oil refineries, I think I recall that there's one, right, in Suriname.
Yeah, we have a state-owned company, and they have a refinery.
Right, exactly. So for the for an oil refinery in the energy sector, it would be that company, that facility knows exactly how much emissions is coming from whether it's diesel or gasoline from the oil that it's refining, how much energy is in that fuel that they are producing. So generally, fuels have the very similar properties because it's made out of the same amount of carbon, same amount of oxygen, etc. That's why I mentioned for fuels in the energy sector, even if you use default factors, they shouldn't vary much from if you have your own national or facility level emission factor, because fuels are because they're made of the same thing. It should be more or less the same amount of energy that transforms into emissions. So that's another example. I could give one.
Thank you.
So thanks for having me explain that. I mean, and it could also be the same for agriculture. For example, you have a particular species of cow that's growing that you have studies on, and you know exactly how much methane that they are producing based on the food that they eat, based on the temperature that they live in, etc. So especially for developing countries, this without there's not necessarily research in every single category. It's very okay to use tier 1, and only for the most important categories for the country, it's important to use higher tiers. Okay. So let's let me go right to energy, and then I will ask some questions on the data that was provided. So these are the main sectors that were involved in Suriname's inventory. So you have energy, manufacturing, residential sector, how much fuel is used in firewood or for butane, for example, and in transportation. And transportation includes on the land for vehicles, trucks, buses, as well as domestic maritime transport. So boats or ferries that are traveling within the country of Suriname, as well as for aviation for airplanes going domestically within Suriname. I'm not so sure how much it is, but once it is international, your international flights and your international boats, etc., those don't count in your national inventory. They would go in your memo items separately. So we need to account for the energy sector, especially because it is typically the most drives the most emissions in the country. As we saw for Suriname, it's the highest emitter in the country, with transportation being the highest. And so we collect the data using different annual reports, energy balances. In some cases, we use international data where data nationally is not available. Our emission factors, we can refer to our IPCC guidance, and we use the IPCC software. So let me show you an example of data that has been provided, and this will also be a part of the exercise that we do. So this data was provided by EBS for 2018 to 2023 for how much fuel was consumed for electricity production in the above period. So for 2018 to 2023. So this is a question to our colleagues from EBS. What I wasn't so sure of was what is the unit? Is this in gallons, in US gallons, or in tons, or in terajoules? Unlikely. And second question, does this constitute all of the electricity production for the entire country of Suriname? Or maybe our colleagues from the ministry would know these answers as well.
What is the question? How much fuel was consumed for?
Yes. Do these values represent the fuel that was used for electricity production for the entire country, or only a part of the country?
Only a part of the country. If it is EBS data, it is only a part, because we have also SPCS power plant.
Okay. Okay, so this would be the majority. Would it be the majority, this data here? Oops.
No, because we also have. I'm not sure.
Okay. So these are.
Okay, the majority of diesel used. I don't have the data of state oil, so I cannot, because sometimes we also buy energy from state oil, but which is so how do you see it? Water energy. Wait, the hydro
Mhm.
energy. So it is difficult to tell what part this is.
Okay.
LPG is for the whole country.
Okay. So this is good. So this is very good information, and this is helpful to our colleagues who will be putting together the emissions. So LPG we know is would be for entire national data. Um, for diesel and HFO, if this is for electricity production, we know that these values
It's
represent.
from 2 power plants, but I'm not sure. Ifat, what is this data? Is this what we provided?
So yes, this was
Yes,
from.
I think this is what you provided us. Shireen, this is
Yes,
what okay.
yes, that's what we provided.
And can you indicate if you receive information from state or company? Because I thought that they should have shared with us also.
No, we only receive from EBS.
And you did not ask them?
State of company.
That's only.
Yes, we asked them, but we didn't receive any data from them.
Okay.
Maybe I need to. Yeah, I will send a reminder.
So this is from 2 power plants.
Okay.
For the coastal area of the country.
Okay. Okay. So this is partial data for national electricity production.
Yes, partial, yes.
Okay. So so this is a good starting place, and also for our colleagues preparing the inventory. Um, if you still require data from state oil or the other our power producers, then it would need to be added to these values for the national values. But that's good. And then, for example, hydro would for the greenhouse gas inventory, we will apply by different fuel type. So hydro would be put in a different category. German, go ahead.
Yes, I saw, I think, 4 categories: manufacturing industries, power plants, others, and one more, I think, transportation.
Mhm.
But in Suriname, we have, for example, also mining companies, mining industries. I'm just wondering, they have their own power plants and they're using heavy fuel oil, diesel, all those energy sources. I'm just wondering, their power plants, would it be considered manufacturing or others?
So if it is if it's not if if the if the power that they're producing is for electricity, then it would fall under electricity generation. If they are using that um, for their own mining, the mining company is also a power plant, then um, that would fall under the manufacturing industries and construction. And
I
then there's
see.
a subcategory for mining.
I see. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I see the subcategories. Okay. Then it's okay.
Mhm.
I was just
So
wondering.
no, good. Yeah, that's a good question. So it gets very, it could go as detailed as you want. It could, if it's mining or if you have a different type of industry for iron and steel, it's the energy that they use for that industry. But if they have extra energy that they have generated from their power plant that is being sold to provide electricity for the country, then it would be in this subcategory under electricity production.
Okay.
Okay, so I will share this presentation and with this data because what we want to do is put this data into the software. We are out of time, and I don't want to overextend your schedules, but I have two options, that we remain for another 15 minutes to enter it into the software, or we take it as homework, and we can check in the other session.
Unfortunately, today I have a little bit of time restraint.
Okay, that's no problem. So
Can we take it as homework and put it in
definitely,
and then
Or is
probably
it
one of
possible to do it together another day?
yeah,
okay.
maybe later this week. I'm not sure. Or next week. Because Brittany, I
Next
know that you would suggest next week.
next week is also possible.
Okay. So that's fine with me. So what we can do, we can and I can discuss with Yvette and colleagues if we can use the next session, which is on the 22nd, and perhaps we start a little bit earlier before we go into the waste. We do this together.
Yeah,
We
When
if
is that?
the
that's on
22nd, 2020.
Okay.
and and instead of starting at 12, we can start at 11:30 to do this exercise, just to enter it.
Okay, that would be good.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I will
And meanwhile, we will try to get the data of the state oil company, which should provide us with the data, especially regarding the refinery.
mhm. Yeah, so that would be good as well. And then
Okay.
the only last clarification for this data here is to know what the unit is.
Oh, I think it's liters.
This is in liters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in the
But the
next session,
LPG, I need to check what the LPG is. I don't have it here now, but I
okay.
can check it
Okay.
for
So, but
next
for
week.
diesel and HFO would be liters. And then,
Yeah.
okay, we'll see what LPG is. Okay,
Yes.
so then in our next session on the 22nd, we can start at 11:30, take 30 minutes to enter the data and see the results.
Brittany, isn't it best to start 11 and then you can have like a break between before we go in the next session of 12 for the
Okay,
other sector?
okay, okay, that's also fine.
Yeah, in case 30 minutes is not um enough,
Enough.
then we have like more than 50,
Okay.
30 minutes, let's see,
11.
45 minutes and then
That's true.
50 minutes break.
That's true to give yeah, that's right. Especially considering where most of us are new to the software. Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Okay, good suggestion, Yvette. So then I will see all of you on the 22nd at 11.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you everyone for your time today, and well done um,
Thank
in
you.
getting our introductions.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Brittany.
Brittany.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye.
Thank
nice
you.
Okay, we
day.
will
Thanks,
Okay.
one.
share a
And then
reminder with you all not to forget the 22nd,
Yes.
11 a.m.
I already
All right.
booked it, but it's
Okay.
okay.
okay,
Okay. Thank
excellent.
you.
Thank
Thank
Yes.
you
Thank
you.
all.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Yes. Bye.